You've heard, I'm sure, that I like to tell an anecdote or two. Well, life not only begins at 40, so does lumbago and the tendency to tell the same stories over and over again.
His talent at telling those stories was widely admired, even by his adversaries. And he seemed to have one for every occasion.
Governor Reagan, I now declare you to be duly installed as governor of the state of California.
Jack Warner of Warner Brothers, I'd been under contract for a number of years, heard that I was running for governor. I understood that he said, no, Jimmy Stewart for governor, Ronald Reagan for best friend.
I, Ronald Reagan, do solemnly swear that I
Howard Baker told me on the steps of the Capitol at the time of the inaugural, he said, Mr. President, I want you to know I will be with you through thick. And I said, what about thin? He said, welcome to Washington.
He was a master at the art of wit as weapon. With a sly, well-timed comeback, he could disarm even the press.
Mr. President, in talking about the continuing recession tonight, you have blamed mistakes of the past, and you have blamed the Congress. Does any of the blame belong to you?
Yes, because for many years I was a Democrat.
His wit rivaled that of his two idols, Franklin Roosevelt and Abraham Lincoln.
He liked to laugh, President Lincoln. As a matter of fact, he was criticized for it once, and he said, if I couldn't laugh, I couldn't stand this job for 15 minutes.
Reagan clearly relished the job, missing no opportunity to joke about his favorite targets: communism, big government, high taxes.
If the big spenders get their way, they'll charge everything on your taxpayer's express card, and believe me, they never leave home without it.
And if his campaign were a Broadway show, it would be promises, promises.
He won friends and votes by turning his opponent's punches into punchlines.
I will not make age an issue of this campaign. I am not going to exploit, for political purposes, my opponent's youth and inexperience.
He exploited his own age to a fare thee well. On that subject, he was happy to aim jokes squarely at himself.
One of my favorite quotations about age comes from Thomas Jefferson. He said that we should never judge a president by his age, only by his work. And ever since he told me that, I've stopped worrying. Just to show you how youthful I am, I intend to campaign in all 13 states. I've already lived about 20 years longer than my life expectancy at the time I was born. That's a source of annoyance to a great many people.
When things annoyed him, he often used a laugh line to get in his digs.
I was going to have an opening statement, but I decided that what I was going to say, I wanted to get a lot of attention, so I'm going to wait and leak it. So
he quickly gained a reputation as the Teflon president, to whom bad news didn't stick. His ability to charm almost any crowd helped keep his popularity high.
Now, I've been told that this is all off the record and that the cameras are all off. Is that right? Huh? I was told that because I've been waiting years to do this.
In the Reagan joke book, the nation's capital was always good for a laugh.
You know, you don't have to spend much time in Washington to appreciate the prophetic vision of the man who designed all the streets there. They go in circles.
But he also enjoyed slinging barbs at certain other world capitals, particularly Moscow and Havana.
It is said that Castro was making a speech to a large assembly, and he was going on at great length, and then a voice out in the crowd said, peanuts, popcorn, Cracker Jack. And he went on speaking, and again the voice said, peanuts, popcorn, Cracker Jack. And about the fourth time this happened, he stopped in his regular speech, and he said, the next time he says that, he says, I'm going to find out who he is and kick him all the way to Miami. And everybody in the crowd said, peanuts, popcorn, Cracker Jack.
He would live to see the walls come down all across the world, a process no doubt hastened along by his relentless mockery of communism as something both barbaric and laughable.
The commissar in the Soviet Union who went out to one of those state collective farms, grabbed the first worker he came to, said, how are the crops? Oh, he said, the crops never have been better, just wonderful. He said, how about potatoes? Oh, he said, Comrade Commissar, if we could put the potatoes in one pile, they would reach the foot of God. And the commissar said, this is the Soviet Union. There is no God. He said, that's all right. There are no potatoes.
For 8 years, humor was a key part of the presidential performance. As his term of office came to an end, it was Ronald Reagan's nature to leave him laughing.
As soon as I get home to California, I plan to lean back, kick up my feet, and take a long nap. I'll come to think of it, things won't be all that different after all.
My fellow Americans, it's been the honor of my life to be your president. So many of you have written the past few weeks to say thanks, but I could say as much to you.
30 years ago, America was confronted with a bad economy, a serious energy crisis, and foreign enemies who threatened our freedom.
At a time when Americans were told there was a crisis of confidence, one man changed history.
That man was Ronald Reagan. President Reagan believed in freedom, America, and the American people.
His rendezvous with destiny is a reminder that we all have a similar rendezvous, and that together we can create a better future for America. He called himself a citizen politician, and only entered politics when he warned government was gaining too much power. By then he was age 54, with a successful career behind him.
Ronald Reagan wasn't just an ordinary Republican politician. He drifted into the Republican Party and then moved up the ladder. Reagan got into politics because of what he believed. So Reagan was a conservative first and a Republican second. He challenged the Republican establishment. He's a very unusual politician.
Governor, are you prepared to take the constitutional oath?
I am.
The secret to Governor Reagan and President Reagan's political success is that he was always underestimated. People saw him as a grade B movie actor, and he always exceeded expectations, and that's what politics is all about.
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
In 1981, Ronald Reagan came to Washington with 3 goals.
He wanted to revive the American economy.
The inflation rate, the interest rates, the country was in disarray.
It was not just that he was a great communicator. You got to communicate the right ideas, growth and hope and opportunity and entrepreneurship.
He wanted to restore the American morale.
President Reagan believed in the American people and their ability to pull themselves through these kinds of problems.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
And President Reagan wanted to end the Soviet oppression of millions in Eastern Europe.
We all knew how Ronald Reagan felt about the communists and about the Soviet Union.